In 1999, the Browns returned to the NFL. Since then, they've had over 30 different starting quarterbacks and just one playoff win. Now, in 2025, Mel Kiper Jr. is sounding the alarm louder than ever. His latest criticism centers.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback many believed would be top 5, yet he slipped to pick 144 straight into Cleveland's dysfunctional orbit. Kiper's scathing analysis isn't just about Sanders. It's about 25 years of repeated mistakes that have turned the Browns into a cautionary tale. Kiper's firestorm is a reckoning, and Sanders is the tipping point. This isn't just poor drafting, it's institutional failure. Between a divided front office, Stefanski on one side, Barry on the other, and a public demanding answers, the Browns are once again collapsing under the weight of their own decisions. Sanders deserved a real shot. Instead, he's the newest name on a list that keeps growing, and the cycle shows no signs of ending. Segment: MK speaking. Mel Kiper Jr. didn't raise his voice for drama, he raised it because after 2.5 decades, the Cleveland Browns are still making the same mistake, still stuck in the same cycle, and still sabotaging the very thing they need the most, a quarterback. And this time, that quarterback is Shedeur Sanders. Kiper's takedown wasn't just another analyst venting frustration, it was a calculated, fact-backed, full-blown call-out of a franchise that has failed to get it right at the most important position in football. Not once, not twice, but over and over for more than 25 years. And he's not wrong. The Browns have built a reputation not just for losing, but for losing quarterbacks. Consistently. Systematically. Almost like clockwork. Enter Shedeur Sanders. A quarterback who, leading into the draft, was at the top of 9 NFL executives' boards. That's not casual praise, that's near-consensus first-round, franchise-level potential. And somehow, he fell all the way to the 5th round. Pick 144. A fall that wasn't about talent or performance, it was about everything but football. According to Kiper, it was internal dysfunction, misaligned leadership, and behind-the-scenes politics that led to that draft day collapse. And where did Sanders land? The absolute worst place for a quarterback trying to grow, Cleveland. The Browns took Sanders in the 5th and immediately dropped him into a power struggle between general manager Andrew Barry and head coach Kevin Stefanski. Barry, the architect of the pick, saw long-term value. Stefanski, already sold on his hand-picked quarterback Dillon Gabriel, didn't. The result? Gabriel starts, despite playing poorly, while Sanders doesn't get a real look. Mel Kiper saw it for what it is, sabotage 101. And if you've followed the Browns for longer than 5 minutes, you know this isn't new. Kiper's point wasn't just about Sanders, it was about patterns. It was about what the Browns always do, mishandle quarterback talent, implode from within, and then act surprised when things fall apart. This is the same organization that's had just one playoff win since 1999. And during that span, they've gone through a graveyard of quarterbacks. Tim Couch, Brady Quinn, Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield. All victims of the same dysfunctional operating system, one where front offices and coaching staffs aren't aligned, where player development is an afterthought, and where the cycle of failure never stops spinning. Shedeur Sanders is just the latest to get sucked into the vortex. And what's happening now with Sanders is especially frustrating, because he has done nothing wrong. No off-field issues. No injury problems. No attitude concerns. The talent was widely recognized. He was projected as QB1 by people who make careers out of identifying elite prospects. But once he fell into the Cleveland machine, he became invisible. No preseason build-up. No QB competition. No developmental plan made public. Just silence. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel continues to underperform. The offense is stale. The results are poor. The fan base is restless. And still, Stefanski won't budge. Not because it's working, but because benching Gabriel would mean acknowledging that the GM's pick might be better. And that's the core of Kiper's rant. This isn't about a football decision. It's about a coach-GM power dynamic that's affecting roster choices in real time. Barry believed in Sanders. Stefanski didn't. And rather than work together, the result is passive-aggressive deadlock, where one side quietly buries the quarterback and the other won't publicly fight back. That kind of dysfunction doesn't just derail careers, it poisons an entire team culture. You can't build anything sustainable when your leadership is divided. You can't develop talent when your coach is more concerned about saving face than winning games. And you can't ask fans to buy in when it's obvious that internal politics are steering the ship. This is what the Browns have mastered, turning elite prospects into background noise. It's not hard to see how this plays out. If nothing changes, Sanders will sit the entire season. Maybe next season too. By then, the momentum is gone. The narrative will shift. People will say he didn't pan out, even though he never got the chance. He'll become another what if in a long line of them. Not because he failed, but because the team around him did. That's what Mel Kiper was warning about. Not just one missed opportunity, but a repeated organizational failure that keeps costing the Browns, on the field, in the draft, and in the court of public opinion. This isn't just damaging to Sanders. It's damaging to Cleveland's reputation across the league. Future prospects, agents, and even coaches take note of how teams handle talent. When word spreads that quarterback development is an afterthought in Cleveland, the consequences go beyond this one player. It becomes a branding issue, a credibility issue. And in a league where perception can shape your future as much as performance, that's devastating. Right now, the only thing standing between Sanders and irrelevance is time, and even that's running out. Because at some point, people will stop asking when he's going to play and start asking why he hasn't. They'll stop seeing him as a potential starter and start seeing him as a misfire. And none of it will be because of anything he did. This is exactly how careers get stolen. And it's exactly why Kiper spoke up. He's seen this enough times to know the warning signs. The coach-GM split. The unexplained benching. The top prospect who gets no support. The echo of past failures. Couch, Quinn, Manziel, Mayfield, growing louder with every passing week. If the Browns wanted to break the cycle, they had the perfect opportunity. They had the exec support. The draft steal. The fan base ready to rally. But instead, they went back to the one thing they always fall back on. Internal dysfunction. The truly damning part? They're not even hiding it. There's no clear message coming from the top. No accountability. Just vague quotes about development timelines, while the offense gets worse and the media gets louder. Kiper didn't blow up because he likes drama. He blew up because the Browns have learned nothing. And if they keep going this way, they will waste Shedeur Sanders the same way they wasted everyone else. So what's the fix? It starts with accountability. Stefanski and Barry have to get on the same page, fast. Ownership needs to step in, if they haven't already, and demand clarity. Because if your head coach and GM can't agree on who should be on the field, then your season is over before it begins. And Sanders? He needs to play. So, even if it's in a limited package. Even if it's just to see what you've got. Because if you don't, the questions will only get louder, the pressure will keep building, and eventually, the relationship will be damaged beyond repair. Cleveland doesn't need another quarterback controversy. It needs a quarterback plan, one that isn't dictated by ego, politics, or history. One that's rooted in development, transparency, and winning. Because until that happens, the Browns aren't just wasting games, they're wasting futures. Drop a comment below and tell us what you think. Should the Browns give Sanders a shot now, or is this already heading toward another quarterback disaster? Like the video if you're tired of watching talent go to waste in Cleveland, and hit that subscribe button to stay up to date. Because the way this team is going, the next meltdown might already be loading. At this point, if you're still holding out hope that the Cleveland Browns have some secret master plan for Shedeur Sanders, you're setting yourself up for heartbreak. Because if the past 25 years have proven anything, it's that when it comes to quarterbacks, this franchise doesn't plan, they react. Badly. That's what Mel Kiper Jr. was really blowing the lid off of. It wasn't just about a depth chart. It wasn't just about Sanders sitting behind Dylan Gabriel. It was about a legacy of dysfunction. about how an NFL team can become a place where talent goes to vanish, not because the players aren't good enough, but because the environment is broken. And right now, that's what Sanders is caught in. A broken system. A front office divided against itself. A coaching staff that appears to be actively resisting the quarterback their general manager drafted. A fan base begging for answers and getting nothing but silence. The story isn't just, top prospect gets benched. It's, top prospect gets benched in the exact same system that has wrecked nearly every quarterback who's walked through its doors since 1999. That's not a coincidence. That's a franchise identity. Let's get back to the root of this, the power struggle. Kevin Stefanski is all in on Dillon Gabriel. Not because Gabriel's been lighting it up, he hasn't. His stats are forgettable, his performances are shaky, and the offense looks lifeless. But he's Stefanski's guy. That's what matters here. It's about control. It's about narrative. Playing Sanders would mean admitting the guy you backed isn't cutting it. And in Cleveland, ego trumps evidence every single time. On the flip side, Andrew Berry, the GM who made the Sanders pick, has to be watching this slow-motion train wreck unfold and wondering how long he can sit quietly. He saw the reports. He saw the 9 executives who had Sanders as QB1. He saw the slide in the draft and knew it wasn't about talent. He took a calculated risk. And now, the coaching staff is making that pick look like a wasted move, not because of performance, but because of stubbornness. This is the exact kind of fracture that keeps Cleveland from building anything lasting. And it's happened before. Multiple times. Brady Quinn was supposed to be the guy. Then he wasn't. Then he was. Then he wasn't again. Johnny Manziel? A mess from the start, yes, but Cleveland never had the structure or accountability to handle that situation. Baker Mayfield finally broke through the chaos, played through injuries, delivered a playoff win, and still got shipped out when internal tensions boiled over. It always ends the same way. Not with the quarterback flaming out, but with the organization falling apart around him. That's what's on the line right now. Not just Shedeur Sanders' development, but the Browns' already damaged reputation as a place where quarterbacks can't succeed, no matter how good they are. And what's most frustrating? This was avoidable. When Sanders dropped to the 5th round, it was a gift. A top-tier talent falling into your lap. A chance to reset the narrative. But the Browns didn't seize that moment. They didn't rally behind the pick or publicly support his development. They didn't build a system around him. They didn't even float the idea of a future competition. They just let him sit. Silently. As if the move never happened. That's not how you develop a quarterback. That's how you waste one. And the consequences go beyond the field. This kind of mismanagement sends shockwaves through the league. Other teams take note. Players talk. Agents warn their clients. It becomes known that Cleveland is where quarterbacks go to fade out. Not because they're not talented, but because the franchise refuses to give them the foundation they need to succeed. And that reputation is hard to shake. Even now, with fans pushing hard to see Sanders on the field, the Browns haven't made a move. No public statement. No change in approach. No sign that Stefanski and Berry are even on speaking terms about the quarterback room. Just more of the same. Indecision, deflection, and delay. Meanwhile, the season is slipping away. This isn't about giving a rookie a shot in garbage time. It's about figuring out, right now, whether you've got something worth building around. Because if you don't, then the GM wasted a pick. If you do and you ignore it, that's even worse. It's malpractice. And Mel Kiper wasn't being dramatic when he said that. He's watched this league for decades. He's seen how a single decision, or refusal to make one, can derail a player's trajectory for good. And Sanders isn't just another late-round flyer. He was a legitimate top-tier quarterback. Multiple NFL teams saw it. His fall was already suspicious. His treatment since being drafted? Flat-out alarming. The Browns had a chance to shift the narrative. Instead, they're doubling down on dysfunction. What's the plan here? Hope Gabriel figures it out? Wait until the season's completely lost before testing Sanders in meaningless snaps? Pretend that the fanbase hasn't noticed this slow collapse happening in real time? Because that's not a strategy. That's denial. And if you're Sanders, How are you supposed to feel right now? You did everything right. You stayed out of drama. You worked hard. You landed on a team that desperately needed a quarterback solution. And now, you're watching it all fall apart before you even get a shot. Not because of your play, but because of politics. That's the kind of thing that kills careers. And Mel Kiper didn't sugarcoat it. He called the Browns a quarterback graveyard, and honestly, it's hard to argue. The list is long. The failures are consistent. And the excuses are running out. There's still time to fix this. But it has to happen now. Play Sanders. Not later. Not when Gabriel gets hurt or the season is officially over. Give him reps. Let him learn on the field. Show fans that the franchise is capable of learning from its past. And most importantly, prove that the dysfunction isn't permanent. Because if this turns into another wasted year, another wasted quarterback, and another internal implosion, the damage won't just be to Sanders. It'll be to the entire credibility of the organization. No more vague quotes. No more waiting for the right moment. The right moment was weeks ago. The next best moment is right now. Start him. See what happens. Give him a chance to prove what 9 NFL executives already believed, that he can lead a team. And if you're the Browns and you still don't be surprised when the next quarterback prospect avoids you like the plague. Don't be shocked when fans stop believing in the process. Don't wonder why nothing ever changes. Because the answer will be staring right back at you from the bench, wearing numbered. By now, the story isn't just about Shedeur Sanders. It's about every quarterback who's walked into the Cleveland Browns organization thinking they were the one who could finally break the curse, only to end up another name on a list that grows longer every season. It's about a franchise that keeps making the same mistake and expecting something different. And it's about how Mel Kiper Jr., a man who spent his entire career dissecting draft boards and scouting reports, finally had enough and said the quiet part out loud. The Cleveland Browns don't just have a quarterback problem. They are the quarterback problem. And the evidence is undeniable. 1 playoff win in 25 years. More than 30 different starting quarterbacks. Dozens of draft picks spent. None of it has led to sustained success. Not because they couldn't find talent, but because they couldn't develop it. Wouldn't protect it. Didn't know what to do with it. And here comes Shedeur Sanders, falling to the 5th round despite 9 executives calling him the best quarterback in the class. Not top 5, the best. That level of consensus isn't common in the NFL. It's usually a chaotic, mixed bag of opinions. But with Sanders, the respect was there. The belief was there. And then he dropped. And when he finally got picked, it was by the Browns, a team that's historically allergic to nurturing quarterback talent. And instead of learning from the past, Cleveland did what it always does. It internalized the dysfunction, buried it under coach GM politics, and turned a promising situation into a silent standoff. Kevin Stefanski is sticking to Dylan Gabriel. The numbers say it's not working. The fans know it's not working. The media is asking questions. But Stefanski won't blink. Because playing Sanders now means admitting Barry might have been right. And in the Browns building, that admission is apparently a bigger threat than losing football games. That's what this really comes down to. Not football. Not talent. Not even strategy. Control. It's Stefanski's offense. Stefanski's quarterback. Stefanski's vision. And right now, the coach would rather stick to a flawed plan than course-correct towards something new, especially if that new means validating the GM's judgment over his own. And what's Andrew Barry doing? That's the part no one can figure out. He made the pick. He saw the value. But since then, there's been silence. No pressure on the coaching staff. No public defense of the quarterback he chose. Just a quiet, frustrating stalemate where the guy with the most upside is doing nothing but taking mental reps while Cleveland racks up losses. And for what? This isn't a rebuilding team. This isn't a patient franchise with a clear plan to sit a rookie and develop him for a year. This is the Browns. A team desperate for a spark, for momentum, for anything that resembles progress. And instead of using the quarterback they drafted, they're choosing stagnation out of spite. It's like they're trying to prove that dysfunction is a feature, not a bug. Mel Kiper knows this league. He's watched every team go through highs and lows, But he's also watched the Browns stay exactly where they've always been, circling the same drain, repeating the same mistakes, wasting the same kinds of talent over and over again. His explosion wasn't about hype. It was about pattern recognition. And Sanders fits the pattern perfectly. Dropped into a divided building. Drafted by a GM who's not aligned with the coaching staff. Ignored on the depth chart while a less effective quarterback gets reps. No development plan in place. No transparency. No accountability. Just silence and stagnation. The only difference this time is that more people are paying attention. Social media's not letting it slide. Fans are fed up. Analysts are chiming in. There's mounting pressure. And yet, nothing changes. The Browns aren't just mishandling a quarterback. They're wasting a moment that could define the next 5 years of this franchise. And that's what makes it all so much worse. Because say what you want about past mistakes, the Couch years, the Quinn flop, the Manziel disaster, the Mayfield fallout, at least in those cases, Cleveland tried. They gave those guys snaps. They built offenses around them. The plans were flawed, but at least there were plans. With Sanders? There's nothing. Just vibes. Power dynamics. And the sense that the Browns aren't thinking beyond next Sunday. If this continues, Sanders becomes another footnote. A name thrown into the quarterback pit and forgotten before he ever had a chance to climb out. And for what? So Kevin Stefanski can protect his guy? So Andrew Berry can avoid confrontation? So ownership can pretend everything is fine while the season burns? There's no excuse left. Not when you've got one of the most promising young quarterbacks in the league sitting on your bench. Not when your offense is sputtering. Not when your fans are watching the same mistakes repeat for the 10th time. This could have been different. It still could be. The Browns could start Sanders. Today. Tomorrow. They could shift the narrative and show that they've learned from the last 25 years of quarterback purgatory. That they're finally willing to choose the best player over the safest decision. That they care more about winning than protecting someone's ego. But that would require bold leadership. And the Browns haven't shown much of that. This isn't about rushing a rookie. It's not about throwing someone into the fire too early. It's about giving a player, who everyone agrees has the talent, a fair shot. A real evaluation. An actual path forward. Because right now, that path is blocked. And if they wait too long, it may disappear altogether. Once the fan base checks out, it's over. Once Sanders' confidence gets shaken, it's over. Once the league stops seeing him as a potential starter and starts seeing him as just another Cleveland guy, it's over. The Browns have every reason to act. Every sign is flashing red. Every outside voice is sounding the alarm. But if they keep ignoring it, then they don't just deserve the criticism, they own it. Mel Kiper didn't start this conversation to stir the pot. He did it because the Browns are running out of chances. Not just to fix this mistake, but to stop making the same one. So now the ball is in Cleveland's court. Play Sanders. Take the risk. Give him the keys. Because if they don't, they won't just be wasting a player, they'll be proving, once again, that some franchises just can't help themselves. Let us know what you think. Should Sanders be starting already? Is this another quarterback Cleveland's going to throw away before they even try to develop him? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if you're done watching the Browns rinse and repeat. And subscribe, because if this saga continues, you better believe we'll be right here, breaking it all down, as the Browns once again set fire to their own future.